I know this is lottery, so perceived to be very boring, but this is where most revenue in gaming is actually generated. I'd like to introduce myself and the panel. They introduce themselves. I'm William. I kind of been working in the gaming industry for a hell of a long time and have spent a vast majority of my time actually in the lottery industry. I sit on the board of the National Lottery in South Africa, which is a privately run lottery like it is in the UK. But over the years, I worked for GTech and IGT, where they have a very big business in the lottery. And so what we really want to talk about, as you can see, is marketing and regulatory strategies. Pretty broad, and it's a very important topic. As you can see, what's happened in the US with Jackpocket being bought for close to $750 million by DraftKings. So over to the rest of the panel. It's got Julian and Jan. Julian, you first. Introduction.
Yeah. I'm Julian, working at Zeal and heading the games business at Zeal for 7 years now already. Before I worked in the video games industry, and I think first Jan, and then we say some words about Zeal in general, for those who don't know.
My name is Jan. I'm working in the industry now for 13 plus years, mainly in the online casino B2B supplier landscape. And now 3 years on the lottery side to endeavor some other verticals in the industry, mainly focused on compliance, public policy, and all the regulatory boring stuff that comes along with all products that we offer.
Yeah, so the key thing is, what you've got to remember, is that the US and the rest of the world is very different from a lottery perspective. Whereas you've got the Scandics and even South Africa, where north of 50% of the revenue is generated online, the US is still very relatively low. And maybe I'll just go across to Jan first, explain what model you kind of see operating in Germany and the rest of Europe, and kind of talk about what happens in the US.
Yeah. Mainly in Europe, we have the monopolies on a state basis, so the whole state has a monopoly. In Germany, we are a little bit similar to what the US have. So we have 16 states that have their own lottery, but they are bounded similar to Powerball or Mega Millions, I think it's in the US, which is nationwide. So we deal also with 16 different regulators. We, as a private company, comes into play, and this is, I think, very unique to the industry, which only, I think, happens also in Australia with Jumbo, is lottery brokerage. So we broker officially the lottery tickets and sell them to our customers online. So we have 16 contracts with all the 16 lotteries in Germany, have API connections to them, and sell their lottery tickets, the official lottery tickets, online. It's a little bit different to what we see here in the US with the courier service, where still a lot of physical buying tickets is necessary. That's a little bit different model. I think what we do doesn't exist in the US yet, but potentially this is something down the line, especially with the acquisition that we just recently talked. And I was talking to a lot of people here on the conference of Jackpocket by DraftKings. So there's a certain relevance in these online services for lotteries that we see.
Julian, any comments on that, or maybe some comments on the Jackpocket acquisition?
Yeah, just maybe in general, what is different? So the core difference between the courier model and ours is really that API integration, what Jan mentioned. But what is behind it is, of course, that we are a contractual partner of all state lotteries. So we work directly with them, collaboratively growing their business. And in the end, the lottery is of course, the operator. So we are a partner. That's just a bit of different business model. The way how our margin is structured is comparable, I would say. Yeah.
People who don't understand, in the US and with Zeal, is that the player is charged a convenience fee, and in the US, Jackpocket is actually more like you will own a retailer and will physically print a lottery ticket. They have an electronic connection into a lottery terminal, but will physically print every single ticket and put it under lock and key, which is very, very different to Zeal, where it's actually an API integration and digitally held as opposed to physically held. And Jackpocket makes the retailer's commission, which can range from anything from 4 to 6%, depending on what jurisdiction it is in. So what do you think of the Jackpocket acquisition? What's the logic for the acquisition by DraftKings?
I think they basically realized that there is a certain kind of demand, first of all, for online lotteries. So, I mean, if I look at my kids, 15 and 10, they don't do anything without their mobile phone. Why don't you buy it online? So, I mean, there is coming a generation who wants to do stuff online, and be it buying a lottery ticket. That's one. Second one is different kind of customer base that buying lotteries compared to potential other products in the gaming environment, be it sportsbook, be it online casino. So to address these kind of people, I thought it's clever move by DraftKings, the acquisition, and it shows that there is a need for these kind of products.
Because obviously there's a very, very different cost of acquisition with regards to Jackpocket and the traditional DraftKings business. Yeah. It's from $20-ish. They bought DraftKings for equivalent of more like $1,000 per player, which they bought. But they're paying closer to that for their real money gaming ones. Yeah. Do you think there's are they buying this as an additional revenue stream in a new target market, being iLottery, or is it to cross-sell them into sports and casino as well? Are they seeing it as an entry point? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is an important point that you speak about here, because it's, of course, about structuring a portfolio and a portfolio strategy that contributes overall to customer lifetime value, and that makes it possible to address the exact fitting product to the specific customer segment. And that is in what position you will bring yourself to just increase your offering. And I think it's very critical when it comes to iLottery and acquisition for iLottery that you really address the right customer segment with the right product. So for instance, we had good experience with, or a lot of experience with direct lottery acquisition, and structured our games business in a way that it is contributing to this overall goal, maximizing the lifetime value of the lottery customer. And therefore we build products that are designed to build a bridge between these two segments, to foster or open up the funnel from lottery to games, and not only focusing the hardcore slots players that are already playing or attracted by this kind of games, but also try to fill in the gap. So not only going in the very high RTP section of games, but also going somewhere in the middle. And I think this is also something where especially the US lotteries are struggling a bit with their instant business, which is some of the lotteries are already having in place online, because this RTP gap is something that creates several issues for them. So first, potentially a cannibalization issue, and the second is then that you don't contribute as much to the good cause as they would do with the lotteries on paper, at least. So this is, I think, the beauty in this, and how you structure this portfolio to make it in a way that both goals are fulfilled, and that's, I think, where they could learn from what we did in the past, because this was our main mission, to overall structure it in this way.
And one of the big fights in the US has been the retailers, and obviously the regulator of the lotteries, has been the potential cannibalization against them, because they see this product as a way of driving additional traffic into their store, and they'll therefore, as they're staying there to buy a lottery ticket, they'll buy a chocolate, they'll buy a drink or whatever. Have you, in your experience, seen any cannibalization in Germany?
No, not really. I like, from a land-based perspective, that's hard for us to tell, because they're not necessarily releasing the exact numbers into the market in terms of revenues generated in the retail environment. From our perspective, we just recently launched our first casino in Germany as well, in parallel with the lottery brokerage that we are doing. And I mean, Julian is more into these kind of numbers, but we can't see any much cannibalization in terms of both products being in parallel.
Julian?
Yeah, I mean, retail and online cannibalization within the portfolios, I think, two very different things. Retail cannibalization was something we saw a lot, or the lottery saw a lot in COVID, obviously. But still, overall, it was healthy. I think this is in short, the conclusion here. And for games, it is similar for us. For online iGaming, we introduced slots in a lottery environment, and have in the same environment also e-instance. So products that are a bit closer naturally to lottery players. This is how they are designed. And the important is, I think, that you are aware of that the question of cannibalization is always kind of apparatical. So you will not get a final answer, a mathematical answer right away, how your cannibalization looks like. And you need to get closer in live testing to that answer and minimize risk. So I would always recommend calculating a business case with an assumption of 100% pay in cannibalization and still make it work, and then you can, in the end, not lose money, at least.
And the US is very also, compared to Europe and actually really the rest of the world, the US is very, very different market from lottery games. From gaming, every single country is different. But when you look at lottery as a segment, it is very much driven by instant ticket sales. Instant ticket sales are very low in Germany, I would say well sub 10%. South Africa, they're 0. In the UK, they may be 10%. But where the category which has been very successful, for example, in the UK, is e-instance. So what is your view of e-instance kind of in the whole mix? Because obviously, Zeal is involved in doing e-instance in Germany, and they do exist in certain jurisdictions in the US.
Yeah.
Julian?
Yeah, I can. So e-instance, I think for lotteries, I mean, most lotteries in the US are bound to this kind of product because it's lottery-like. Regulatory-wise, not possible to offer slots. So you'll logically end up with e-instance. The current issue is, I think, that most suppliers are focused on creating a local revenue optimum for themselves. So they're incentivized in creating products that are a bit more slot-like, that are working with a very high RTP. And for the lotteries, that is missing a bit of an opportunity because what they need is creating overall customer lifetime value. And that means they have potentially users that are not dedicated slot players, obviously, and are not attracted necessarily by these fast-paced games, and therefore not really driven into e-instance. And this is where we believe it's important to develop products that are filling that gap, that are designed to drive conversion into games, and also where we had quite good success in the past with lottery-like e-instance. So we built an instant lotto, for instance, which was like designed to drive conversion. So depending, of course, always on the jurisdiction, what is possible, what you can do, what you cannot do, that you at best sell this product in a cross-sell situation directly in the basket. If you have an e-commerce basket solution, that you load the product, the instant product, after the purchase of a lottery ticket. You pre-fill it with potentially the numbers the customer just played, pre-fill it with the number of fields that is average that you tested is ideal, players most likely to purchase, and then optimize this funnel. We reached with this conversion of 10% roughly into games, which was so every 10th customer of lottery tickets bought an instant game. This is, I think, some missing potential at the moment when I look at the US, but I think several lotteries will dig into this and will go in this direction.
Because we've seen that casino has been very successful in the US, and the markets in the US which are really working well are the ones which do iCasino attached to. Yep. But the RTPs of the casino are well into the 90s. In the US, unusually, the instant tickets are relatively high compared to the rest of the market. They're 70 to 80% RTP. Whereas in Sweden, for example, you're limited to below 50%. In the UK, it's in the region of 50 to 55%. How do you make those games work in those, with such low RTPs?
Yeah, what you really need to do is giving enough gameplay as a return. So it's a bit different than a slot where you want to keep players in the flow. You want to increase the volume of tickets, so make them make it a practice for the player to play hundreds of tickets, and this is not what you want for these lower margin games. So you want to give quite a lot gameplay, but also, of course, time-wise still limited, so something like definitely under a minute, but also not just 3 seconds. So I think this is key, having some compelling gameplay, which is casual enough to attract like a broad bandwidth of customers.
I kind of want to change tact a little bit, and if there are any questions, please just shout out. And Jan, particularly with yours on a government policy perspective, one of the most interesting things about the US is there's very few lotteries which actually do this. There's, it's around, between 8 and 14 which do some kind of iLottery or e-instance. How, seems quite bizarre in a country which has north of about 45 lotteries. Not every state has a lottery. Vast majority, the one which will never have one is I've got his name, but anyway, Hawaii. But how do you go around convincing governments that e-instance and iLottery is a great idea, considering how digitized the US is?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically trust to the regulator and education. First of all, educating on the purpose of the product, the benefit the states will have. Like, obviously, we're all talking about taxes and stuff like that. That's one point, but also assuring that these products are not that so much risky, and with good player protection around it and responsible gaming measures around it, will generate money for the good cause, more money for the good cause, and addresses the future for the people, especially the younger audience in the market. And I think it's education and building trust that this is a product that lotteries can, even with the traditional approach, can use safely, in a safe environment.
And Julian, I guess I always like this little bit of controversy. Is it better for the lottery to do it themselves, or to do what is the courier system, which is your business model, which clearly you're going to, or in Germany it's a mixed one.
Yeah.
So this is a hard one for you to answer.
Exactly, that is true. So, but of course, because you addressed our business model, which is actually we are, besides Zeal being a broker, we also offer instant game content ourselves, so instant games and slots as well. We are an RGS, so we are a game supplier ourselves with Zeal instant games. And of course, due to the nature of our original business, of our business as an operator, we are mainly focusing lottery customers. So we are producing games that work well in lottery environment, but also beyond that. It can also add more variety to an iGaming business where you can probably diversify your portfolio quite a lot and address your games to different player segments. For lottery, I mean, we have examples in the market where lotteries did this all from scratch, or with at least they steered production of games, like FDJ did for quite a while. And also those lotteries who just sourced content from their platform providers, like what they had in their portfolio. But I can highly recommend diversifying the portfolio is worth it. And I mean, there are so many suppliers out there. So it's basically the cost of integration, the cost of opportunity is what you risk. And you can easily throw out content in the portfolio, which is at one point a necessity. And yeah, that is definitely what I recommend.
What I would say is there is ways of coexisting, like lotteries doing it themselves online, if the expertise is there and the willingness is there, or use the models of brokerage or couriers as in addition to their own businesses. Yeah. So, there's a coexistence possible. There's proof in the market that this works. And it actually also benefits the state lottery in the end.
Do you think lotteries should go beyond, if they can not only do it themselves, but also use the courier service? Yeah. Do you think they should be, a classic example in South Africa, a large percentage of the revenue generated through the lottery is through your bank? So you go into your banking app, instead of kind of doing a banking transfer or topping up your mobile phone, you go and buy a lottery ticket. Do you think that is, and that's just one type of partner. You can have, telecom providers, etc. Yeah. Should lotteries be looking at, effectively affiliates to drive the traffic towards them, even though it's not quite an affiliate model?
I'm mixed emotions about that one. I like the one with the bank because when you told me that this morning, I was like, wow, that actually sounds like a great affiliate distribution kind of model. But you know, where do we start and where do we stop with that one, right? So that's the essential questions. Having also lotteries being known as quite conservative in these kind of approaches. So I've got my doubts around this, that this is a way forward.
But I think especially when we take our example from the German market, I mean, we can definitely say for most lotteries, a huge amount of their growth, if not the most growth, came through us. Because we have in Germany over 40% of the lottery market, online lottery market, is covered by Zeal. And that means like being a partner of them, so we heavily contribute to their online growth. So this is definitely healthy. Also depends, of course, always how the lottery is set up. In Germany, they have to operate nearly cost neutral, so they are not deep pockets for marketing budgets. And private brokers, in this case, resellers, can of course help increasing the reach of a state lottery and drive the players towards the regulated market here.
Okay, just before we shut off, any questions from the audience? Well, I think that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jan and Julian, for it on lottery.
Thank you.
Thanks.